What's up, YouTube? This is Print Practical. This is video part 3 of this series. The first 2 episodes, we were drawing a iPhone 16 Pro Max, and we have successfully completed that, or at least the details that matter for making a case. And now in this episode, we're going to be drawing a case around this iPhone and then using the iPhone as a tool to make sure that we get proper fitment for this case. All right, so to start, I'm going to pull the timeline back to the original shape of the phone that we made because I want to indent in a little bit where the screen is, so that way I can make sure that when we draw this case around the phone, that the case does not overlap with any part of the active display. So here we're back at our original block that we made with none of the other features of the iPhone. I'm going to create a sketch on the front. I'm going to create an offset. And the specification says that there is a 2.36 millimeter gap all around the outside housing to the display active area. And we're going to make that negative. So that is the active area of the screen, and I am going to extrude this inward negative 0.1. So now we got a little indent where the screen is. Now I'm going to re-bring my timeline all the way back. Okay, now we have our iPhone model again, but we have the screen section here, so we know where the screen is. Okay, the next thing we want to do, I'm going to create a new component, and I'm going to make this component the case. Right now, like, the main component of the project is the phone. So we are now making a case, and we are going to start by offsetting a plane off the front of the phone. I should probably pick a surface on the actual front of the phone. Well, that's fine. We just have to remember that I indented the screen by 0.1 millimeters. So we're gonna make the case come over the front of the iPhone by a millimeter. So we're gonna make it 1.1. We're gonna make a sketch here. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we are going to project the outside of the phone here. So I'm going to zoom in pretty far just to make sure I am guaranteed selecting the furthest edge. Guaranteed selecting the furthest edge, and it seems to connect to that line. Furthest edge. Furthest edge. See how there's two lines very close there? It's probably part of the curvature of the phone. So we want to make sure that we have that farthest edge, or we're not going to get the right result here. That looks good. Now I'm going to skip over the bottom here because it's a little funky. Furthest edge, furthest edge, and furthest edge. Okay, that looks good. I will connect it at the bottom here. Let me zoom in and see if I can project this side. Okay, now this gets a little funky over here by the USB-C port. So I'm going to connect it. Now we have a fully connected profile of the phone again. So what I'm going to do is I am going to offset this, the amount that I want to offset the case from the edge of the phone. So let's say we're going to do a 2 millimeter case. We're going to go -2 just to bump outside. There we go. And for some reason that did not offset that other piece, but that's fine. I'll just connect it. Okay. So now if I look back at the home here, and let me go back to the phone, we can see we have this profile a little bit in front of the phone. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go back to our case here, and we're going to extrude both of these surfaces. And we are going to go to, and we want to go to, we can go to the back of the phone plus an offset, and then we can bump out for the camera. It's really up to you. Yeah, you know what? We'll go to the back of the phone. And we're going to do that. Plus, we're going to go back, I guess, 2 millimeters, right? We're making a 2 millimeter case. And this is going to be a new body. Okay, so what we want to do next is we want to use the phone to cut out itself out of the case. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the combine tool. Our target body is our case body. And then the tool body is going to be the phone body. And we're going to do a cutting operation, and we're going to keep the tools because we want to keep the model of the phone. And then we're going to hit OK. Now, what did that do? That cut out the iPhone out of this case. So if I make the iPhone invisible, you can see that, you know, all the parts of the iPhone are gone. Now it's hard to see because of the front, but we will clean this up a little bit. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cut out the hole for the screen. And we're going to select the face of the case here. And let's do a slice. So we can really just extrude this section out now. And we're going to cut. And we're going to go all. And we are going to flip it. So now we're cutting outward. And as you can see, we have this little lip here that goes around the edge of the phone. And I could put the phone back in if you want to see. So if I turn this body back on, if I bring this here, the phone sits within the case. And everything's looking good there. We get this nice little lip here that goes around the camera module, but we did get some weird artifacts left here from the hole for the microphone and the flash. So we're going to get rid of those real quick just by creating a sketch on the back of the case. And then we can just finish the sketch. And we are going to extrude this part outward in a cutting motion, and that will cut out that section. Now I do want to bring the body back here real quick because you can see the cameras go past the edge of the case pretty significantly, and you don't want to be sitting your phone on the counter and having the camera lenses sit on the table. So we're gonna fix that by putting a sketch on the back here. We're going to offset from the camera module, and let's make that -2 millimeters. And then we are going to extrude that section to the top of the camera, and then we can even do a little offset there. So we'll extrude it another 0.25 millimeters above the camera. So that way we get a little bit of a buffer. So that looks pretty good there. And we can do some fancy fillets there to make that all nice and clean and not rough to the touch, because we don't want it to be super rough. So we're good there. I think the next thing we want to tackle now are the buttons. So let's make a sketch on the inside of the case like that. And these are our buttons. So let's offset around the buttons a little bit. 1 millimeter is probably fine. We'll do 1.5. And let me see, how does that look on the side of the case here? That looks fine. Just want to make sure there's a good enough amount of material around those buttons. So I'll do the same thing here. 1.5. 1.5. And since these are touching on the volume buttons, what I'll do is I'll actually extend a line like that. That way we can cut that out all as one section there. So let's go back home. We are going to extrude. Extrude all of these sections we just drew, including the button. And we are going to go to the edge here and hit OK. I forgot to select during that extrude the two sections that I made. There we go. So now we got nice holes for the volume and the action keys. Okay, so after I extruded those, I see that I have these lines here, and that's because they end up on the curvature of the case, so I'm going to get a weird artifact there. So the way that I'm going to fix that is that on my extrude, I'm actually going to do from an offset from the profile plane, and it's going to be 0.1 or 0.2. It doesn't matter, just something to get rid of that artifact. There we go. Now I got clean holes through there. So that is good. And now let me do the same thing for the other side here. I'm going to select this, click slice. Now I can see my buttons. I am going to do an offset 1.5. And then I'm going to do another offset 1.5. Done. Extrude. Boing, 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 boing. Boing, 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 boing. I'm going to go to object, go to the outside of the case. So I can see after I'm extruding that I'm going to have these weird lips in there again. So I'm going to do an offset, and that's going to be 0.2. And there we go. We got our holes for the power button and the camera button. So this case is starting to look all right. Now we have a decision to make when we're looking at the speakers and the USB-C port. Do we want to cut that out? For example, on my iPhone 14 case, I designed it kind of around the lightning and speaker holes. It kind of cuts out around those. I think for this case, I'm going to just cut out where the speakers are and the USB-C port. So the way I'm going to do that is I am going to start a sketch right here where the USB-C is. I'll slice that. And this shows me all of the speaker holes and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to project these circles into the sketch. I don't care about the screw holes. They don't really matter because, if you're going to take the phone apart, you would take the case off. And then I'm also going to bring in the USB-C outline as well. Okay, and I'm missing one section there. Okay, that looks good. Gonna hit OK. Now I'm gonna just draw a rectangle around these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole tangent trick where you make these tangent to the end circles. Okay, and I'm going to do the same here. Tangent, 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 tangent. All right, so I have all my cutouts here now. So I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. I'm going to extrude these profiles. You got to select all the pieces. That one, and then whoop. There we go. And I'm going to cut, and 2, we're going to go to the bottom. And we're going to hit OK. Now, I don't know how I feel about the rectangles. Maybe I will deselect here to give it a nice rounded look. It's probably what I should have did from the start. There we go. That looks a lot better. And we'll have to get rid of these little knobs down here that came from the screw holes. So let's do that now. I don't know if I can just extrude it. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Extrude. Extrude to. All right. So we got rid of those. Now, one thing you might want to do, this already has kind of a buffer for the USB-C port, but for the speakers, I think it would be nice to just give a little buffer around the speakers. So I'm going to use the push-pull face. Yeah, so we'll select all the faces within. It's going to be hard to select, but I'm going to do it this way. There we go. Got all those. Same deal. Click and hold. There we go. And we're going to offset it by -1. There we go. Okay, so the case is almost done. Let's do a few things to clean it up real quick. The bottom section's already done. For the volume and the action button, I want to use the press pull to, give a little bit of a tolerance here. So I'm going to do that. And we're going to make that, how would -1 look? A little aggressive. Maybe half a millimeter. Give it a little buffer. We're going to do the same for the power button and the camera control. It's always good to give a tolerance. Especially if you're 3D printing and stuff, it's never perfect. Half a millimeter seems fine. Now we might also want to do some type of chamfers around the edges. And let's see what we can come up with. Yeah, it makes me consider combining these two holes. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll combine these just because I want to get a good chamfer. I want to get a good chamfer around these holes to make it easy for a user to get their finger in. So I'm going to do that and extrude that to, instead of doing 2, let's just pull it through. Okay, so now we have a huge gap around. So now we can chamfer it. We can even do a 2 distance to get even more of an aggressive chamfer. So 1.5. We can even go 2 maybe. How does that look? Oh, that makes that top section of the case pretty thin. Yeah, I think 1.5 is probably where we'll max out on that. We'll go the same on this side here. We'll do a 2 distance, 1.5, 1. Before I forget, because I forgot this the first time I was ever doing it, was rounding the edges around the whole case. I did not do that, and it was actually very sharp to the touch after 3D printing it, so I want to make sure that I do that. So we are going to select every edge around the border. And we're going to do the same on the back side. And we are going to fillet this, and let's see what we can come up with to get a decent looking case. I'm just worried about these top edges here, but that looks pretty good. I'm going to say that's it right there. Okay, so we are done this series. What did we end up with? We ended up with a extremely accurate model of an iPhone 16 Pro Max. And then I also colored this model so that you can see the case. We designed this sweet case for the phone that fits it perfectly. But if you enjoyed this series, let me know in the comments below. Leave me any feedback that you have as well, or anything that you want me to draw in the future. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.